I'm gonna have to press. Okay, very good. All right, so I'm going to read to you tonight a letter, but I'm going to preface it with some information that'll help you understand the nature of the letter. So when I was a little girl, I lived in Mexico between the ages of 4 and 7 in Guadalajara, which is one of the bigger cities. And at some point, I met a charming bohemian ceramic artist whose works we brought home and I grew up with. All right. So I remember this man clearly because he touched my life in some charming way. And we had this recording of him that was only about 40 seconds long, dancing what I thought was a jig. So I always knew that we had this recording of him. And my mom always said that was Ken. Okay. I only knew him as Ken. So 6 decades later, I'm working for my clients and I sort of take care of their house. So one day I decided to dust the shelf of plates that was coming out of the wall in the dining room because I figured no one had done it for a long time. So as I'm getting to the last 2 plates, I look at them and I go, wow, this style looks really familiar. It kind of looks like Ken's style. I wonder if it's his. So I turned it over and I saw the initials K-E. So I said, oh, Betsy, I used to know this guy when I was a little kid. This is so cool. You have 2 of his plates. And he said, oh, I love his stuff. I have lots of his things. And I later on found several other examples like over the next few months. But I did some research, of course, into K.E., and found out his name was Ken Edwards. And I found out that he had become quite famous. He was in Wikipedia and all that when you look up ceramic artists of that area. And he was famous because he brought stoneware production to Mexico. They had before that used lead-based glazes. And so he brought stoneware, which is heated to a much higher temperature to make it hard. And I guess you don't use glazes or something. I'm not sure. But so anyway, he brought stoneware production, which of course was healthier for them to use as plates and bowls and cups and such. And also, what was even more remarkable was that he ended up teaching 30 to 40 or more people how to do this kind of work. And he created this economic structure for these peasants who were really fine people. As he began to find out, they had beautiful hearts of gold. And I lived there and I always said people had beautiful hearts. So he created this economy. He made one little town famous worldwide for its ceramics, Tonalá, which is just outside of Guadalajara. And so I eventually found an email address for him and contacted him and wrote him a letter describing who I was. And to my surprise, he wrote me right back as soon as he got it. And it was like, oh my God, this is so exciting, So we ended up having a 2-year writing relationship until he passed away last summer in July. And it helped me perfect my writing because I wanted it to be good for this famous person, And he was just so charming and his writing was so amazing that So that was good for me. But I also found out from my research that he had written an autobiography. And I said, I would love to read your book. And he said, well, it's in my computer. So I could send it to you chapter by chapter, but it's not edited or anything. So just be aware of that. So he would send me the chapter. And then I would read it aloud to Betsy, my client, which was just a heavenly experience. She's in heaven, by the way, right now. And we used to laugh and just love the way he wrote and just his, charming nature. So that was just rich and rewarding. And after about a year of this relationship, I became part of an email list with his friends and family. So after about a year, he kind of wrote a letter to everyone saying, I need to create more money flowing into the hands of these people that I taught because they're not making enough money. So do any of you have a warehouse or something where I could ship a whole bunch of this pottery to, and then you could mail it out to the rest of the world, because the mail service in Guatemala is dismal. We don't even have addresses. So I said to myself, that's an interesting idea, but maybe there's more that he could do. And so I wrote a letter, which I felt was one of the, best letters I'd ever written, because it was just very persuasive and etc. You'll hear it. So let me read it to you. My dear friend Ken, I think your idea is definitely a good move in creating income, as well as correcting some of the false representatives out there peddling fake Ken Edwards pottery. I wish I had the storage space to accommodate your boatload, as he had called it, and I'm hoping you have heard from someone able to help out. In the meantime, I'd like to propose a different approach. Since I first read the chapters of your book, I have known that almost anybody in the world would enjoy your stories. The hilarity, the adventure, and the sincere desire to leave lessons for humanity before you go all come through with often reckless abandon. These are raw, original, and straight from some amusing and divinely inspired source. The reader cannot help but feel a loving connection with you as they imagine reliving the experience. Welcome to reading. Plus, you create an anticipation of denouement that is often satisfyingly thrilling. I say, get any one of us who is interested to help you edit and proofread the book and get it up and running for publishing or self-publishing. There are many talented writers amongst us, and that way you can share some of the workload. You say you are uploading pictures? Well, there you go. Half the work is already done. And the photographs will make the book all the more interesting, as we all know. My point is, if you are in need of creating wealth, then I think you should sell yourself. A big word in marketing these days is branding, i.e., creating a mystique around all who you are and essentially selling that to the world. I know that idea might have been distasteful to you in the past, and I can't even believe I'm even using the term, but in your case, it is a given and a solution. Ken Edwards, with all of your artistic creations, your co-workers whom you have taught to branch out and create their own visions, making possible potential wealth for themselves, your notoriety with fans all over the world, including women who wanted to marry you after meeting you for the first time, your writings, your book with the types of wisdom the world so desperately needs, and just your general now gnarly charm. What are you waiting for? I am sure that many people on this list have a lot of contacts that they can spread the story of you to, and thus potentially generate income. Because at least a portion of those contacts will want to be a small part of the story, and they will purchase pottery and or your book. They can then tell others about their purchase, and then they become interested, and so it spreads. Money will start churning, at least to some degree. Now is the time for you to fathom the once hideous idea of resting on your laurels. You certainly have earned it, and now you deserve whatever you and those around you need. You will still be busy tying up the necessary loose ends, which will require you to keep working. So you needn't worry about how slow you're going or that you're not getting enough done. This is one way you can create an economic infrastructure for your coworker friends. Finally, I think it's just a delightful way to cap off a life well lived. Anxious to hear your thoughts on this concept. Much love, Susan. So he said the letter was breathtaking, which to me was one of the greatest compliments of my entire life. And a few days later, his nephew from Madagascar put forth that he was a professional editor, and so therefore he would love to help out. So what ended up happening was, after about 6 months of editing and me proofreading his editing work, just to double check, another woman had joined the group that had actually met Ken years before and interviewed him. And she was an art curator in Guadalajara and Mexico City and really all over the world, plus a professor and all that. And of course, I looked her up, and that's how I found all that out. Well, Daniel had asked me to be in charge of publishing. And when I had read that she had written 2 books and published them, and she's in the art world, I mean, I put 2 and 2 together. And of course, I said, do you think you'd be interested in helping to publish this book? Because you have a connection. So, make a long story shorter, after a year of her working with the governments of those cities and the curators and all that, she let us know this January that the cultural minister of Jalisco, which is the state within which Guadalajara resides, said that he had the budget to publish the book and to translate the entire thing into Spanish. And this is like a 360-page book. So that's no easy task. Probably is going to cost a lot of money, but he's going to do it. And so I was just on top of the world. And Daniel said, this is some serious stuff, Susan. I thought it was just going to be self-published, but this is really serious. So I'll just take over the whole production, and just send me all the stuff that you have, and, you know, all the pictures and all that, and which I had received. And I'll just take care of it. And I said, I'm ecstatic to hear that, because I absolutely know nothing about publishing and manuscripts and all that, other than what I've done to help you out. So go ahead and do it. And as far as I saw it, the bun was in the oven, and I closed the oven door. And now I just get to wait until the book falls into my lap, hopefully in English. So yeah, it's you know, important to write persuasively and make things happen in life, you know? Thanks.
Yay! Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
So I'm gonna do a piece. This is the last piece for the evening. So starts like this. As many of you may know or may not know that I've been dating Bigfoot. Okay, you know who Bigfoot is, right? I mean, it's a true story, but kind of not true, but it's true. So, and there's a podcast and everything about the whole entire relationship. So you guys can go to Beauty and the Beast podcast. I'll put it in the comments below, whatever, you know. But anyway, so I've been in a multi-dimensional relationship with Bigfoot. And for the past year, and we have a baby and everything. It's a long story. Oh my gosh, like we have a baby. But his mom has put me on this whole thing where I have to go out and be like an ambassador for the Bigfoots, and not only for the Bigfoots, but for the whole crypto world, or cryptid world, meaning the fairies and the mer people and stuff like that. Like I have to be a spokesperson for all of them, so that human beings could, you know, have more love and compassion for them. And so this one night, just recently, like maybe about like a month ago, I go to this place where it's like a poetry slash cipher. And a cipher is when hip hop people kind of come together and channel rap music. Okay, so they're rapping and they're channeling. If they don't, so that means they don't know what they're going to say, but they just kind of channeling and stuff. And the way it goes is like they just kind of pass the mic around, or people will go up to the mic and then you go ahead and you start rapping, and you channeling and you start rapping and stuff like that. So I decide that, wow, there's a lot of people here. So this is a moment for me to let everybody know about the Bigfoots. So this is a true story. Okay. So I go up to the bike, and I have to be like a little bit aggressive because it's all guys. So I have to be like, yo, hand me the mic. And I grab the mic and I'm like this, and I'm like, save the Bigfoots, they are free. Sovereign souls like you and me. Ancient ones who have the right to live in peace, unity and light. Unity, unity, unity. We come together. Unity, unity, unity to make this world better. Unity, unity, unity. Safe and secure. Unity, unity, unity. Love is the cure. Now, the funny thing is that when I start going unity, 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 they had call and response. So I'm going unity, unity, unity. And everybody, the whole crowd was like, unity, unity, unity. And I'm like, I was like, oh, that's right. They have call and response sometimes at the hip hop concerts, right? So I had to be like, oh, I have to actually do this again. So I had to go, unity, unity, unity. And they went, unity, unity, unity. And I'm like, we come together. And they're like, we come together. Unity, unity, unity. And it turned into this whole other thing that I was totally taken aback, that they embraced the Bigfoots in a way that I never knew that they were going to embrace the Bigfoot. So now I'm pumped up to go out there. I was scared at first because you never know. Some people were scared of Bigfoot. But now I'm pumped up to really put myself out there and be an ambassador for the Bigfoots. So thank you very much. Yay, thank you guys.
I just want to tell you, I've seen 2 Bigfoot stickers on cars in 1 week. Isn't that wild? Right after, you did that before,
Wait a minute.
which was like a week or 2 ago.